I've talked about how you hold the cue and the differences that occur with different players, how much they unfurl those fingers, how much they use the trigger, etc., etc. What I'd like to look at now is the actual delivery of the cue. Now, if you're like me, who was watching on TV the Champions of Champions competition, Alan McManus was commentating on one particular match, and he's the first commentator to pick up on it, which I thought was quite a unique thing and very good thing in terms of me as a coach. And what he did, if I can walk around here and show you, what he did was picked up on Ronnie O'Sullivan playing a shot, and he said, just watch his elbow. Now, if I can demonstrate what he was talking about here, Ronnie got down to play a shot, and you can see my elbow above my head. Ronnie played the shot, and Alan said, watch his elbow disappear as he played the shot. Now that is because Ronnie gets through that ball so well. It's what Joe Davis used to call the drive, the great Joe Davis, 20 years world champion, the drive of the cue forward. Now Ronnie uses that technique. But if you are driving that cue forward through that cue ball, you get through it very, very well, you better make sure you're getting through it straight, because if you don't, you're going to miss. Now obviously Ronnie does it very, very well, the best player in the world. He gets through that ball, drops his elbow and gets through the ball. This means that this cue tip is in contact with that cue ball slightly longer, so he's in more control of it because he's in contact with it longer. Other players, they keep the elbow high. If I can try to demonstrate that, here you can see my elbow above my head. I play the shot, the elbow remains high, and you can still see the elbow. Now if you can deliver that cue straight, and you can get through the ball, and you're potting the ball, and you can control that cue ball, then whichever method suits you is correct for you. Okay? I'm not going to come along and change something that is working. If it's working, it is correct. What I want to mention here is that if you're using the technique where your elbow is high, you're predominantly using the elbow joint, as not forgetting the trigger, of course, and the wrist here, but predominantly the elbow joint. We are not a machine, we're human beings. Now, if this elbow joint was a mechanical hinge, then it will work in one plane, exactly one plane. We're not like that, we're human beings. Everybody's joint is slightly different, and everybody's joint works slightly differently, all right? So some players, as they deliver that cue, right, the elbow might start in line here, but as they play the shot, it goes offline, right? That could create a flaw in their technique. And then the other aspect of that is this is where the wrist comes in, to make sure that the wrist and the grip and the elbow all work in harmony together. If they're working as individuals, you're never going to be consistent. So for me, the drive is the better way of playing. From there, if you can get through that ball, drop the elbow, but make sure you get through that ball straight. I've also been asked about cue rotating. You know, is it a problem? Well, yes, if the cue is spinning quite a lot, obviously that is a flaw. There's something happening here. Well, largely what can happen is people who invert the wrist, and then when they go forward, it comes back online. The cue is bound to rotate, and if it's rotating a lot, it can affect the cue ball. But minimal rotation, well, no. If you're cueing straight, getting through the ball, and there's slight minimal rotation on that cue, that's not going to cause you a problem at all. In fact, most players' cue will rotate slightly. my own, if I look at these chevrons or arrows on the top of the cue, they will start on top of the cue there, and then when I've played the shot, they've very, very marginally gone over to the right. Doesn't worry me at all as long as I'm cueing straight. If we come back to the elbow joint, if we look at, it's picking on a very, very good player, say Joe Swale. Now his elbow is right in here. Now if he just used his elbow joint, that cue would be going in almost an arc, right? So he compensates for that with the use of his wrist. He allows the wrist and the elbow to start working in harmony. They don't work as individual entities, right? He gets them working in harmony. So from there, his elbow's in, and then his wrist works, and he cues straight. And he hits that ball beautifully. Why would you want to change that? He's such a good player, all right? So all I'm saying to you is, if you want to get through that ball, right, which is a real essence of the game, you're better off dropping the elbow and driving through. Not forgetting what we talked about in the earlier video of the trigger. Concentrating here at the front of the hand and then on the third finger. Some players, yes, I admit, will just use the front of the hand, and that is the main essence of the game, of their game. And if you can do that, that's fine, right? But I believe that the front of the hand and the back of the hand works in harmony, and when they do, that's a more effective way of playing the game. Good luck with that practice.